Well, the groundhog saw its shadow. Another partial government shutdown could be coming down the pike as Democrats demand sweeping changes to ICE operations. Lawmakers racing to reach a deal with a Friday night deadline inching closer. So far, both sides remain far apart, and now the finger pointing is in full swing.
I think Democrats are going to have a very hard time shutting the government down just so they can perpetuate the kind of chaos that's going on in Minneapolis.
We have a bill about funding them, giving them more money. I'm not voting for that.
I don't think many Democrats would vote for it because the Karen wing of their party wants to defund ICE.
It doesn't sound to me like they're interested in making big changes of the kind that the American people are asking for and that they deserve.
I think it's obviously a political show exercise, but I'm hoping that rational minds persevere.
Joining us now is Republican Senator Jon Husted of Ohio, and it's great to have you. Let me have you listen to Chuck Schumer. This is what he says is very reasonable.
Since Saturday, the ball has been in the Republicans' court. We have no idea of which of our proposals they will accept and which they reject. And when I say that Democrats offered exceedingly reasonable proposals and have the support of the American people, I'm not exaggerating.
Senator, here's a list of 10 demands that Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have asked for. No masks requiring ID, protecting sensitive locations, stop racial profiling, upholding use of force standards, ensuring local coordination and oversight, building safeguards into the system, body cameras for accountability, not tracking, and no paramilitary police. So of those things that I've just listed, do you think that the Republicans can come to an agreement with them?
Well, I know that the White House has been having good faith conversations with Senator Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, and they have offered them a series of proposals. But understand, as soon as the president put Tom Homan in charge in Minneapolis and of ICE, things have moved in that direction. They've de-escalated the situation. They're using body cameras. They're drawing down ICE forces that were necessary in a sanctuary city. So the White House has been very cooperative with the Democrats. The question is, will they say yes to the progress that the White House has already made? And will they settle for something that's reasonable? Because there are some things on that list, like administrative warrants going away and only having judicial warrants, that Republicans are never going to settle for.
It is curious that the Democrats didn't just decide to declare victory in Minnesota and move on, but apparently they must feel like they have a good political issue here as well. What are you hearing on that front?
Well, I think they want to keep the conversation at the forefront of the American public. I think that is certainly part of their political strategy. But I will also put something forward, and I think the president has as well. No more sanctuary cities and no more sanctuary states. That is the fundamental problem that we have. In most states, by the way, in red states, 150,000 illegal alien criminals have been turned over to ICE. But in sanctuary states, if you commit a drug trafficking offense, an assault, they let you go. And then ICE has to go into those places and try to track those individuals down. If we just ended sanctuary city policies and turned over illegal alien criminals to ICE at the local level, we could avoid much of the confrontation that we've seen.
Senator Thune, who of course leads the Republicans there, is the majority leader. He said you all might need a little bit more time. When it comes to masks and federal agents, is that something that the Republicans will stand firm on?
Look, that's something for the president and Tom Homan and the Department of Homeland Security to determine what's safe. What is a safe way for individuals to confront a volatile situation? I mean, for example, it's kind of absurd. It's been below zero in Minneapolis. If you're going to be doing work outside, having a mask on is sort of a practical issue. But we can do things like make sure that they're clearly identified as law enforcement officials. But the way to solve this problem of the confrontations is to have better cooperation between state and local officials and ICE officials so that we can get the illegal alien criminals that are in our local jails turned over and deported. That's the number one issue that will resolve most of this confrontation.
Yeah, there's a stark contrast between those localities that call themselves sanctuary cities and those that are cooperating. Thank you. We'll see how it goes. It's only Tuesday, and Friday is the deadline. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, it's Will Kane. click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.